Welcome to John Martin Talks, where we battle ignorance and apathy daily. The growing ignorance of just how special this experiment we call the United States of America is, and apathy that we can't or won't do anything and everything to save her. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you had a great Labor Day weekend. I sure did. I went on a fishing trip. It was a solid one, nothing super special to report. Yesterday, I'm not going to lie to you, I basically lounged around the house and did a few honeydews and put some ribs on the grill for my wife and my daughter and my youngest grandbaby who's about to turn a year old. And we had a grand old time, just a staycation, so to speak. But a lot of people, I saw a funny meme on Facebook. It said something to the effect of, if you hadn't worked over the past year, now retirement people are a separate issue, but it basically said you weren't due a grill, you were due a hot pocket at best because there's so many jobs out there. Anyway, we got a great show for you today. It's one that I don't particularly love doing in a sense, but you really need to know about this stuff. And when I say I don't love it, I mean I love doing the show. I love bringing you this information. I appreciate it. But man, what is the old saying, going to hell in a handbasket? Our country is basically, that is what is happening. And I try to be seriously entertaining. I like to think that I'm a little bit humorous and present the day's events, but some of the stuff is just heartbreaking and beyond not only our control, it seems like, but I dispute that, but it certainly seems like it is from time to time. But it's difficult to put a humorous spin on some of this stuff, and today's show is no exception. We're going to start out with a story about the Texas border. Big surprise, is out of control, and it is more and more on a daily basis. And there are some warning shots, so to speak, being fired, political ones, you know, talk, not actual guns, but being fired out of Texas. And essentially a call to action is certainly what I'm going to put my spin on this story. And then the feds, another story out of Texas, but it really plays across the country. The feds are determined to stop heartbeats in Texas. They are absolutely, the Biden administration is determined to stop beating hearts in Texas, and we'll expand upon that. And then lawlessness, ladies and gentlemen, is just now becoming commonplace. It's like every day, it's broad daylight, people are bum rushing stores, and we're going to show you one of the latest things, and it should be shocking, but I'm not sure that it is. But before we go any further, I have to always talk about our sponsors, and we got some new ones on the board that I'll talk about in just a minute. But our main bread and butter sponsor, we come to you live from the BDU, which stands for Big Daddy Unlimited Studios, every day, Monday through Friday, 11 o'clock Eastern. Big Daddy Unlimited is your go-to place for Second Amendment. They are your Second Amendment headquarters, because you will get factory direct pricing on guns and ammunition, as well as over 100,000 related items delivered directly to your door. Look above the video, no matter when or where you're watching it, and you will see links to our sponsors and partners. In this case, click on Big Daddy Unlimited, follow the directions, and you will not only help yourself, but you'll help the show as well. They have, as I say, guns, ammunition delivered directly to your door. Over 100,000 related items, including tactical gear, protective wear, survival gear, even Second Amendment swag. You can get it at Big Daddy Unlimited, and they are your headquarters because they defend your Second Amendment on a daily basis. Now, if you want to see just how great a pricing you can get with Big Daddy Unlimited, check out Denny's Deals. Denny comes across most of these Facebook networks. He's certainly on John Martin Talks. He's also on the Excluded Facebook page. Drop the E, put the big X up there, Excluded. By the way, you can also watch our show as well as Denny's on the Excluded app. Go to your app store. It's part of a new platform that we're on, part of a new platform that is being developed. But go to your app store. As I say, drop the E, put the big X, get the Excluded app. But what Denny does is he takes some products from the Big Daddy Unlimited line. He demonstrates how to use them, what they're for, pros and cons, that type of thing. And then he shows you the manufactured suggested retail price, the average of the internet price, and the Big Daddy Unlimited if you were a member price, and you will be amazed at the savings. Once you've seen how much you can save, if you haven't already, go back to our link on our show, click on that, join up for 99 cents, virtually free, thereafter $10 a month, and you will save more money on your first purchase that will pay for your membership, and you'll help the show. We're excited to tell you about a new sponsor that we just launched last weekend. It is part of Wellness Warriors. Wellness Warriors. Now, go to the link in our above the video, as I say, look for johnmartinhealth.com. Click on that link, follow the directions, and you will get free vitamins. Yes, I said free. First of all, you'll get minerals, zinc right here, and then vitamin D, free, absolutely free, and you'll have access to a whole line of vitamins and wellness products. Remember, one of the things we've learned during this pandemic that we all could agree on is we as Americans and literally citizens of around the world, because you too can have access to this, we need to get healthier as a people, as a nation, as citizens of this country, or people walking the planet. We need to get healthier. And one way to do that is through Wellness Warrior. Check it out, johnmartinhealth.com. Click on the link above it and follow the directions, and you'll get free minerals and vitamins, zinc and vitamin D. Check it out. All right, let's get into the meat and potatoes of our show. This first story comes to you via Breitbart. Texas Department of Public Safety, he says, the border situation is out of control. We'll see historic numbers month in and month out without stiffer policies. And this, as I say, is a Breitbart story. That's actually a fairly recent picture. The people who are crossing the border illegally will go right up to Border Patrol people and essentially turn themselves in, which I brought this point up a few weeks ago. You know, the way the border is right now, people, as I say, they just turn themselves, they literally look for Border Patrol to turn themselves in. Now, not everybody does that, but as easy it is to get in our country, as smooth as it is for the Biden administration to basically transport these people around the country, can you imagine what people must be up to that are still hiding from border agents? And it's a significant number. What are they up to? Because there's really no reason to hide unless you're like dope smuggling or trafficking in human beings and that kind of thing. But let's get into the meat and potatoes of the story. During an interview on Fox News Channel on Monday, Texas Department of Public Safety Lieutenant Christopher Olivares, and he's got courage for saying this right now, said that the situation on the border is out of control, no joke. And without stiffer policies from the Biden administration, according to Mr. Olivares, he said, we're going to continue to see this historic numbers month in and month out. Now, there are reports that as many as 1 million people a month are coming across the border. And it varies anywhere from 200,000 up to 1 million people coming across our border. But even if it's the low number of 200,000, we're still talking about well over 1 million people, illegals, coming into this country. And most of them are unvaccinated. You know, we're getting into this whole debate. We're having second-class citizens. I said last week, a caste system. By the way, one of the great ways beyond excluded, download that app, go to your app store, drop the E, put the big excluded up there, check that out. But you can also see our show archived on America's Voice News. They are a great alternative to the mainstream media. They're on Roku, Fire Stick, Apple TV, Channel 219, Dish Network, and the Pluto channel. They have free apps on your Android or your iPhone. America's Voice News, where you see our show. We're not on there live right now. You could tell them you want to see us live. But what we're archived on there. So go to whatever streaming service you use. It's free to upload the America's Voice News app, so to speak, and go to the shows tab, click on that, and you'll see us there. But there's this caste system that is being developed in our country which basically untouchables, like in India, if you're unvaccinated, you're untouchable, right? But the truth is, ladies and gentlemen, that we're letting all these hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people coming across the border illegally, and by the CDC and the federal government's own estimates, which they quit testing, by the way, but when they were testing a few months ago, 7 to 10% of the people coming across the border were positive for COVID and just being released into our country. I saw this and I thought it was an interesting tidbit since we're talking a little bit about the virus here. I wanted to mention this from the New York Times. Before I actually read you this data, I want to say that I am not giving out COVID advice, algorithm, all that. I'm simply reporting what the CDC reported. This is actually a direct quote from the New York Times about a CDC report. The CDC reported a terrifying fact in July. Vaccinated people with the Delta variant of the COVID virus carried roughly, check this out, roughly the same viral load in their noses and throats as unvaccinated people. Do you get that? Now there's a lot of evidence, or at least they're saying there is, and I'm not disputing it, that people who are vaccinated are getting less sick. In other words, if they turn up COVID positive, this Delta variant, they are dying at a lower rate. That's just what's being reported. But this idea that somehow whether you're vaccinated or unvaccinated makes you more or less contagious. Well, according to the CDC's own report in July, I'm going to read this again, the Delta variant of COVID virus, people who are vaccinated people with the Delta variant of the COVID virus carried roughly the same viral load in their noses and throats as unvaccinated people. So it's not unvaccinated people that you're necessarily catching the disease from, it's also vaccinated. So as far as the actual contagion as catching the disease, it sounds like it's about equal. But you know, the bottom line is party on, dude. I mean, you know, just people, we had football weekend, packed houses, this thing. But these people, and I keep reporting this to you all the time, that the leaders, especially progressive leaders of the Democratic Party, they don't practice what they preach. They don't believe half this stuff. I'm going to show you a couple of quick examples. You've probably seen these, but you need to keep seeing them. This is Barack Obama on his birthday party bash where he had over 500 people. Yes, a super spreader event at his birthday. Check it out. Whoa, party on, dude. I mean, that's Barack Obama a month ago at his birthday party. No one is masked up. He's out there hugging and kissing and high-fiving and grabbing or whatever, and they don't seem to care about the virus. So apparently if you're elite enough, you don't catch it. You know, this virus is, one of the things we're learning about it is this got to be the smartest virus that has ever lived, because it knows exactly where to travel. Like in a restaurant, you can go in there, you got to wear a mask, but when you get in and sit down and start eating, you can take your mask off. So the virus apparently knows to hang out in the lobby area, but not in the eating area, or to not go to Barack Obama's birthday party without an invitation. And for my friends out in California, I got to play this video because this was just a couple of weeks ago. Nancy Pelosi at a $30,000 a plate fundraiser in Napa Valley. Now she's 80 years old. She's with a bunch of gray-haired white folks. There are brown people there as well, to be fair. The brown folks are doing the serving and all wearing masks, but the elite whitey-whiteys have no mask at all. Check it out.
We have in store for later, but for now. Question was asked this morning by Ambassador Solomon about young people and how we're reaching out to young people in the Olympics. Well, young people, we always ask them, how do you want to be reached out to? And one of the main responses we have in store.
And there's Nancy Pelosi, 80 years old, not wearing a mask. A lot of silver-haired white folks not wearing a mask, but all the brown people, they're very concerned about the brown folks. I'm sure they're making those brown people wear masks for their benefit. Really? You think so? Billy Bob tells me he don't agree with it. Billy Bob's my psychic sidekick, by the way. If you haven't met him, he keeps me straight on the show, helps me with the videos. He has a Twitter handle. It's at BillyBobBass1, and mine is at John Martin Talks. We're determined to stay in the public square, in the public marketplace. So like everything we're doing, share it far and wide, because as I've been telling you, if you want to watch programs like us, you're going to have to be more proactive. You're going to have to share what we do, like and make comments, and check out our sponsors. We're growing by the day. We got Wellness Warriors. Look above the video no matter when or where you're watching it. Remember to get your free vitamins. Follow the directions on johnmartinhealth.com, the link above our show. You will get zinc and vitamin D free of charge, no obligation whatsoever, and we got more coming. But I want to, I said this about playing this for my friends out in California, because you got 1 week left. Literally 1 week from today is the end of the recall election of Gavin Newsom. So you need to do, and it's all vote by mail. I know there's a lot of potential cheat by mail and everything else, but this is your shot out in California to actually send a message, fire a shot across the progressives' bow. You got 2 votes you have to cast. One, the most important one, is to recall Gavin Newsom. If over 50% plus 1, as I understand it, vote to recall Gavin Newsom, then the next person, the person that gets the plurality of the other votes, which is your second vote. So you got a first vote, recall Gavin Newsom, then choose among the recall candidates vying for the governorship. I personally am hoping that you will vote for Larry Elder, but the bottom line, vote for the candidate of your choice. But absolutely, California, this is your one and maybe last shot to send a message that you are not pleased with what's happening to the Golden State. Vote to recall Gavin Newsom. You literally have 1 week left. All right, let's keep moving. Lieutenant Alvarez, he is the Lieutenant of Public Health in Texas. He's an official position there, and he's warning that the border in Texas is simply out of control. I applaud his courage to even do this, but this is something he said. Lieutenant Alvarez said, "These human smugglers are very bold." He's talking about the cartel, basically. "And right now we're seeing them do things that they've never done before as far as the extent of the driving. The reckless driving," he said, so people's lives are being put in danger. He said they talking about the cartel, put these immigrants in danger by the way they drive, and not only that, but the motoring public as well, as we continue to see that to increase because of this current surge that's taking place right now. Now check this picture out. This was several months ago, and I talked about it at the time, that there were, I want to say there were 28 people, something to that effect, but in the high 20s, including the driver. This SUV, they took all the seats out except the driver, and they packed these illegal immigrants in, and they crashed through the border fence, and then they got into a crash later on where it killed quite a few people, including innocent Americans who just happened to be driving down the highway supposedly at the wrong time. This stuff is absolutely insane. They don't care about people. The Democrats, the progressives that are running the Democratic Party, they absolutely do not care about American citizens. They do not care about the illegal immigrants that are desperate to get here. They only care about their own agenda and holding on to power. That is all of this is about. Everybody else be damned. I'm just telling it like it is. If you're new to the show, first of all, welcome. Howdy, how are you? We're glad to have you. But if you're looking for political correctness, you are absolutely in the wrong place, because I try to be seriously entertaining. I call myself a little bit John Wayne, a little bit Mark Twain, and a little bit Duck Dynasty. That's kind of how I am, but I'm not politically correct. I do try to be humorous as much as I can, but these aren't that humorous of times. But if you want the straight scoop, if you want to know what's really happening, I guarantee you won't find a more straight shooter, straight talker than I am. But Mr. Alvarez, he later added this. He said, right now, talking about the border in Texas, the situation is out of control. And unless the administration, talking about Biden, steps up and does something, puts some stiffer policies in place, we're going to continue to see these historic numbers month in and month out. Do you really believe that Biden is going to do anything? I don't, and I'll expand on that in just a moment. So Mr. Alvarez went on and said, so right now, nothing's being done on their part, talking about the feds, but the state of Texas is stepping in and doing what we can to keep our communities safe and to keep the nation safe. And I applaud them for their willingness to do this. Biden is simply ignoring the situation, and he's ignoring the SCOTUS, the Supreme Court, because the Supreme Court just came out with a ruling about 2 weeks ago. We covered it. Check out our podcast, like I told you, various ways. You can also check us out on pretty much all of our social media networks, like we're archived on our YouTube channel. Spell it all the way out, John Martin Talks. Good morning, YouTubers. Howdy, how are you? But Biden is ignoring the SCOTUS ruling because the Supreme Court ruled that they being the federal government, had to reinstitute the stay in Mexico policy, which was created by a former president. I hate to say that, but former President Trump. Hopefully we can say new President Trump. I guess he'd be 45, he'd be 47 maybe. I don't know how that works as far as the number if he decides to do it again. But Donald Trump, you may recall, he was radical when it came to the border, right? He followed existing and international law. That's how radical he was, because the stay in Mexico policy is international law. Because and let me expand on that for just a quick second, because you don't hear this on the mainstream media. But according to international law, when you're seeking asylum, by international law, you're supposed to seek asylum in the next country you come to. So by obvious that unless you're a Mexican citizen seeking asylum in the United States, the first country you're going to come to from wherever you're coming from, even by airplane, is Mexico. So according to international law, you're supposed to seek asylum in Mexico first before you cross over into the United States of America. And that is all that Donald Trump did. He implemented international law. But Biden administration is ignoring the ruling by the Supreme Court. But you shouldn't be surprised that Biden administration is ignoring multiple rulings by the Supreme Court, the latest of which is, the private property rights, about the eviction, where the Supreme Court ruled, by the way, for the second time, that you could not have a barring of people evicting people from their private property. Private property rights, as you heard me say, are the cornerstone of this country. But ladies and gentlemen, let me just take a sip here and then tell you the bottom line on all this. The Biden administration is going to do squat. So yes, they're legally bound. They should, but without Congress putting in pressure like impeaching them, which is not going to happen right now anyway, unless we overturn the House and Senate and put it in Republican control. The right Republicans, by the way, the people who are America First people, that's what we need to do. That's our obligation. But they're not going to do anything. And Joe Biden, his administration, has blatantly and is blatantly flaunting the Supreme Court's ruling. So the action, if there's going to be any action to protect our southern border, and really a lot of other issues as well, it's going to have to be at the state level. And I've created this little map a while back. I call it the Gulf Alliance, and I wouldn't limit it to just these states, but these states have a common interest and share in a way a common border with the Gulf of Mexico. So I'm all for actually the states coming together on various issues. Texas, for obvious reasons, is taking the lead on border issues, but Florida has been there. We're going to talk about that in a minute. But what you need to do as citizens, obviously if you're in the state of Texas, put pressure on them. They seem to be doing a pretty good job. But no matter where you are in the United States of America, you need to put pressure on your legislative body, on your executive branch, to actually come to Texas's aid, because this is not just a Texas issue. Yes, it is hitting them the hardest and the quickest, but it is hitting all of us. If even part of what the federal government is telling us about COVID is true, and I'm not saying it's not, then we have an obligation for the public health of our citizenry to stop the illegal immigrants from coming into this country. As I remind you, by the CDC's own testing, 7 to 10% are positive that we know about. So we need to step up. You need to put pressure at your state government and say, help Texas. And we can do this. Check out this blue wave map. This is a county by county map of the entire United States from the 2020 election. The blue areas are where Joe Biden won. And, you know, you can dispute whether he won or not. We're not even going to get into that. We don't talk about the F word here. We talk about voter mod because we got algorithm, the most powerful man out there in social media, so we got to appease that. But the gray areas are the counties in which Trump won. So we have the numbers to put pressure at the state level to do something about this. I don't know if we can do it in California. Right now I want you to focus on that recall, but certainly the majority of those gray states could absolutely put pressure on their legislature and say, we need to help Texas. It is our obligation. America's governor, Ron DeSantis, the great governor of the state of Florida, he's already responded. He's already done this, and we already have put resources into Texas. Florida is in Texas. There you go. We're in the air, we're on the land and the sea, the water, the Rio Grande, all of that. America's governor, Ron DeSantis, that's what I call him. He's responded. As I tell you all the time, ladies and gentlemen, I am American by birth, but I am Floridian, baby, by the grace of God. And I'm reminded of that all of the time. And you may say, well, as I was kind of alluding to, that this is not your problem. You don't live in Texas. You live in North Dakota. I'm just saying about as far away as you could. Or you live in Alaska. So, you know, this is not your issue. It is absolutely our issue because the safety of America is paramount and the controlling of our borders. We're not a country without a borders. If not now, when? If not us, who? And as Elvis said, it's now or never, baby. If we don't actually step up to the plate on multiple levels, we are going to be in trouble. This is not about conservatism, although certainly that's the heart of it. This is about whether you believe in a constitutional republic or not. If you believe in the rule of law, we're going to show you some more things about that in just a moment, then it is all of our obligation. And as I say, if not us, who? And if not now, when? We have to step it up at every level because the progressives are never, ever going to stop, and they're going to keep fighting. The only way you can, this is one of my axioms, if you don't get anything outside the show, get this point. You cannot reason with progressives. You cannot negotiate with progressives. You can only defeat them at the ballot box. And I'm not advocating violence. I'm advocating defeat them at the ballot box. Listen to this story. This is an AP story. And this is what I said, that the federal government actually wants to stop heartbeats in Texas. Justice Department will protect abortion seekers in Texas. The Justice Department said Monday that it will not tolerate violence against anyone who is trying to obtain an abortion in Texas as federal officials explore options to challenge a new state law that bans most abortions. Well, let me ask right off the bat, who is advocating violence on this issue? Can you name me one person that is advocating, certainly a group that is advocating violence against women seeking abortion? It is not happening. So the federal government is making a straw man argument that they're going to protect people from the violence at abortion clinics. Where is that happening? I'm not saying it's never happened, but it's not happening right now. And as far as this idea that Texas is banning most abortions, that's what they want you to believe. Texas has a heartbeat law. So I'm going to play you a video in just a second because this is what the left is defending. One of the things we have to do is fighting fire with fire is we have to have the political courage to speak our mind, to point out to the American people what the left is actually defending. This, because it's easy to talk about, Roe versus Wade, pro-life versus not, pro-choice, my body, my choice. But I want to put this in plain and simple so you can really understand it. Maybe you could copy this video link or find one like it and share it with people, email people, that kind of thing, because that's what it's going to take. This is what the leftists, the Democrats, the Biden administration is defending. They want to end this right here. Ladies and gentlemen, that, if you don't recognize it, is a baby in the womb with a live heartbeat. A heartbeat. That's what Texas is defending. They're not really defending a woman's right to choose. They're defending because the Texas law does not prevent women from getting abortion. It just essentially says that it's illegal to have an abortion once a child has a heartbeat, which is like what, I think 6 weeks, so a month and a half. It varies a little bit. But once a child has a heartbeat, that's what it does. Now, you could say that's wrong or whatever, but that video pretty much shows you a baby's heartbeat. So I'm just going to tell it like it is. You are what the progressive left, the Biden administration, what the Justice Department is under Merrick Garland is actually trying to do is stop that heart from beating. It's just, I'm just telling it like it is. Let me quickly explain to you my position on abortion and how it's evolved over time. Basically, when I was first given this much thought, when I was in my early teens and right up through high school, I didn't think that much about it one way or another. To be honest with you, I didn't have a strong position one way or another. I kind of thought it wasn't my business. I probably bought into the Clinton argument at the time of being safe, legal, and rare. But one of the things that I have learned about progressives is they will take it all the way to the extreme. You give them an inch and they will take 10 miles, let alone 1 mile. This is when I had to basically put my foot down and take a strong position about this when this video right here came out. Check it out. I hope we have it. The Governor Northam.
And she was pressed by a Republican delegate about whether her bill would permit an abortion even as a woman is essentially dilating, ready to give birth. And she answered that it would permit an abortion at that stage of labor. Do you support her measure and explain her answer?
Yeah, and I wasn't there, Julie, and I certainly can't speak for Delegate Tran, but I would tell you, first thing I would say, this is why decisions such as this should be made by providers, physicians, and the mothers and fathers that are involved. There are, when we talk about third trimester abortions, these are done with the consent of obviously the mother, with the consent of the physicians, more than one physician, by the way. And it's done in cases where there may be severe deformities, there may be a fetus that's non-viable. So in this particular example, if a mother is in labor, I can tell you exactly what would happen. The infant would be delivered. The infant would be kept comfortable. The infant would be resuscitated if that's what the mother and the family desired. And then a discussion would ensue between the physicians and the mother. So
that's good enough. A discussion would ensue. And don't fall for that deformity crap and the baby being viable. Yes, they put that out there and the health of the mother. I'm with all of that. But at the same time, if you believe for a second that they are limiting abortions to that, then you have had your proverbial head in the sand. But that was Governor Northam, the guy who said, yeah, I can't remember if I had the Ku Klux Klan hat on or the blackface, but yeah, one of them two pictures is me. I just don't remember which is which. And he's still the dadgum governor of Virginia. Now, they got a governor's race coming up, and hopefully you will vote opposite Terry McAuliffe, who is actually running to be elected once again to governor. But that Northam, that, ladies and gentlemen, pretty much describes, as the late, great Rush Limbaugh used to say, the fourth trimester abortion. But just think about what he's saying there, how callously he's saying that. He's saying if a baby is aborted, but born alive, in other words, way beyond just having a heartbeat, the baby's out kicking, screaming, sucking in air, then we'll make the baby comfortable. I guess they'll give him a little shot or whatever, maybe dope him up a little bit. Then they'll have a discussion between the mother and the doctor and the janitor out in the hall. I mean, he's probably got more common sense than the rest of them. And then they'll decide whether to go whack off with his head and sell the parts to get a new Lamborghini or something like that. It is absolutely insane. So my position, I went from it really wasn't my business to maybe safe, legal, and rare to my God, what the left is talking about doing is killing newborns. I mean, it's unbelievable. They're going to have a discussion about this. And so that's what one of the things we must do is to confront these people, not violently, but with the facts. If people are talking about what's happening in Texas, send them a clip of that video I just played and say, this is what the left is defending. Not a woman's rights to choose, but a baby's right to live, for a heart to be snuffed out. That's what's happening. We got to put the facts on the table, as chilling as they may be, because these progressives are never going to stop. Back to this article. Attorney General Merrick Garland, I guess the best news there is at least he's not on the Supreme Court, but Attorney General Merrick Garland said the Justice Department would protect those seeking to obtain or provide reproductive health services. Now keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, that the Supreme Court has already ruled in support of the U.S. Supreme Court, by the way, in support of the Texas law. So the Justice Department doesn't have an opinion on this. The Justice Department has to follow, at least they are supposed to if they're going to follow the Constitution. The Supreme Court ruled in favor of the Texas law. End of story. Challenge it in court, yes, but try to enforce other aspects of it is a violation of the U.S. Constitution. I don't care which side of the abortion issue you're on, because think about this. What if states all of a sudden said, I know Roe v. Wade is the law of the land, the Supreme Court has ruled that way, but heck, we don't ignore the Supreme Court and we're not going to do anything about it and we're going back to pre-Roe v. Wade. I'm not advocating that. I'm simply pointing out to you the idiocy of the argument from the left, and that's what we have to do. We have to point it out with facts. We need to become warriors, happy warriors, factual warriors, but warriors nonetheless. But back to this article, I'm going to read this paragraph again. The Attorney General Merrick Garland said the Justice Department would protect those seeking to obtain or provide reproductive health services under a federal law known as the Freedom of Access to Clinic Entrances. First of all, no one is preventing people from having an abortion. The Texas law does not prevent abortions. What it does, and it doesn't even enforce it, the abortion law. What it does, and I'm not too sure I even like this, but it allows people to sue those who carry out illegal abortions. That's what's happening. And so what illegal abortions are currently, when this act takes effect, which I think is pretty much right away in Texas, means if you have a heartbeat, you cannot abort the child. But so when Merrick Garland is talking about, and the Supreme Court, I remind you, has already ruled in Texas's favor, but Merrick Garland is trying to make it about the right to abortion and stopping violence and stopping people from going in. There's no prohibition from having an abortion in Texas before the child stops beating, the child's heart starts to beat. It's all about crushing the heartbeat of a living being. I don't see, and then let me say this. What do you think about, they always talk about believing science. What if science actually proves that life begins at conception? And that's not beyond the possibilities, right? They certainly could prove that life begins at the time of heartbeat, but what if you talk about the science, all right? What if science conclusively were to prove that through some type of testing that actual cognizance, that human beings have a spark of divinity, if you want to call it that, but a spark of intelligence, that they are intelligent life forms literally at the time of conception? Would you then say, go with the science? You know, because certainly I think you could say that life begins when a heart starts beating. Whether it's viable or not is another story. But how can you honestly say? I guarantee you. Here's this, and I'll shut up and go on. These do-gooders that are standing up, challenging a right to end the heartbeat of a human being, a United States potential, I suppose, citizen in the womb. What do you think they would do if you said, oh, we're going to start killing dogs that have a heartbeat. They would stand up and raise holy hell, but for human beings, not so much. Prove me wrong. But Garland, talking about the Attorney General, said in a statement that federal prosecutors are still urgently exploring options to challenge the Texas law. They can't challenge the Texas law. The Supreme Court's already ruled. Your job, Merrick Garland, as the chief law enforcement officer in the country, is to uphold the Constitution, sir, not your own political whims. And the Supreme Court, whether you agree with them or not, has ruled in favor of Texas. There is no challenge unless you want to challenge it in court. That's how you have to do it. He said, Garland said, the Justice Department would enforce the federal law in order to protect the constitutional rights of women and other persons, including access to abortion. Federal law allows people to still have abortions in Texas. They just can't have them once a heartbeat is. You can debate whether that's the right way to go or not, but they're talking about, and I started to do a story on this, they're actually talking about having federal abortion buses to answer this. In other words, they take basically a clinic on wheels, put it in various places in Texas, and allow people to have abortions right on up to they're born, I suppose, and challenge the Texas rule that way. And they're going to pay for it, obviously, with taxpayer funded, right? So much for the Hyde Amendment that doesn't allow taxpayer money to pay for abortions, which has been BS from day one, by the way. It's always, I mean, Planned Parenthood does hundreds of thousands of abortion, and they take millions of dollars from the federal government. Do you really believe, because they'll say, oh, none of this money is used for abortion. That'd be like saying, okay, I make $100,000 a year, and I'm going to put $10,000 over here for vacation, but none of this money over here is going for my vacation. It's going to something else. It's all the same. It's just a bookkeeping deal. And that's all they really care about, looking good on the books, virtue signaling. They obviously don't care about the life, heartbeat of children. Back to this article. The federal law, commonly known as the FACE Act, prohibits physical obstruction or using the threat of force to intimidate or interfere with a person seeking reproductive health services. That's actually not happening, at least not yet. The law also prohibits damaging property at abortion clinics and other reproductive health centers. To me, it's just unbelievable. And this is where we have to counter their BS language with our own hardcore factual language, because they use this reproductive health services. As far as I know, reproductive means you are pro-life, right? You are reproducing life. Isn't that what reproductive means? Reproductive health services actually means helping a child be born. Reproductive health services. This has nothing to do with reproductive health services. It is counter to reproductivity. So we need to make sure that we counter this with the facts, not the emotional stuff, but show these people the beating hearts of children and saying, this is what you're defending. You're defending the right to stop this heart from beating. That's what it's all about. Justice Department officials have been in contact with U.S. attorneys in Texas and the FBI field office in the state to discuss enforcing federal provisions. So the Justice Department is talking about how to circumvent the Texas law, which has been upheld by the U.S. Supreme Court. Why don't they protect the border? The U.S. Supreme Court has issued that you have to do the stay in Mexico. They're ignoring that. The Supreme Court has come out and said that they defend the Texas law, abortion law. They're trying to go around that. The Supreme Court has ruled that it's unconstitutional to take people's private property rights by saying they can't evict people who aren't paying their rent. And the federal government appears to be ignoring that. So this idea of the Constitution, it's on fire, man. It's being shredded. It's being burned. It's being destroyed by the left. If you don't like what's in the Constitution, change it. But don't ignore it and don't shred it. But Garland's not done, Attorney General. He went on to say the department, your Department of Justice, your taxpayer money that is supposed to enforce the law, in these cases upheld by the Supreme Court, this is what he said: the department will provide support from federal law enforcement when an abortion clinic or reproductive health center is under attack. Who's under attack? No one's under attack. They always go with this emotional language. Garland went on to say, we will not tolerate violence against those seeking or to obtain to provide reproductive health services, physical obstruction, or property damage in violation of the FACE Act. How about defending the law that is the law of the land in Texas now, because not only the state legislature passed it, the governor signed it, and the U.S. Supreme Court upheld it? How much more proof do you need than that? But no, they're not doing it. And as far as violence, I really don't want to hear that. I'm not advocating for violence, but I really don't want to hear it coming from leftists like Merrick Garland. Because remember when Chuck Schumer actually stood on the Supreme Court steps and said this?
And they're taking away fundamental rights. I want to tell you, Gorsuch, I want to tell you, Kavanaugh, you have released the whirlwind, and you will pay the price. You won't know what hit you if you go forward with these awful decisions. The bottom line is very simple. We will stand with the American people. We will stand with American women.
That's good enough.
We will.
So in other words, he's telling you, you're going to reap the whirlwind. You won't know what hit you at the Supreme Court. And this guy is now the majority leader of the U.S. Senate after saying all of that. So, it's just crazy. But once again, I want to play you this video because I want you to understand what the progressives are defending, especially if you're a Democrat out there. You could have different opinions about abortion, but understand what you are defending is to crush this right here. That is what you are defending, ladies and gentlemen. We have to educate, we have to motivate, and we have to activate people. That's what we've got to do. We've got to put the truth out there, and we got to eliminate people by manning the political ramparts and putting it to a vote. I only got a couple minutes left, about a minute and a half. I really want to show you this. This is from Fox News. Blatant Oregon shoplifters walk out of Lowe's with full carts. This is absolutely insane. Video of shoplifters stealing thousands of dollars worth of electrical wires from a Lowe's store in Oregon has angered local residents. Look at this video. This is in broad daylight in Oregon, people going into a Lowe's and just marching out. Check it out. Wow. That's good enough. We're about out of time. But basically, they just go out and they just steal it in broad daylight. I want to, it's getting blatant. It's happening all over the country, not just in Oregon. But let me just tell you, ladies and gentlemen, just in case you're wondering, they are stealing from all of us. They are. And I want to say something. I know they're probably not watching, but to the thieves or wannabe thugs out there that are doing this stuff, you're going to bring down this country if we allow this to happen. We'll end up being communist or Sharia, and I was going to play a video about that, but I don't have time. But you're not going to like the communist solution because they basically just shoot you in the head in China for doing this kind of stuff. And Sharia law, they just cut your hand off, they cut your leg off according to Sharia law. So if the capitalist system falls, you're not going to like it whatsoever. And, we can't live in fear, ladies and gentlemen. We can't surrender. I want to end the show with this. You're not going to like, and I want to show this carry a gun meme at the very end there. You're not going to like what I call the Patriot solution either. Great movie, by the way, if you hadn't seen this. But you're not going to like it when patriots have to stand up to defend this nation. I'm not advocating violence. I'm simply telling you what's going to happen if our system crumbles, which is what may or may not be your intention, but what you're doing. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the show as much as I've enjoyed bringing it to you. Please go to all our social media sites, like them, share them with others. Remember our newest sponsor, Wellness Warrior. Remember to get your free vitamins by going to the link above the show. You get zinc and vitamin D. Just follow the directions, no obligations. Look above the show. Thank you so much. I'll pray for your family. You pray for mine. Let's all pray for this great nation. But above all else, like I say each and every day, from my heart, from my family to yours, have a blessed day.